Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome you here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am a host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. So, this is the episode we do every week on Sunday. I consider it to be the first episode of the week. Sorry, I got this wrinkly shirt on here. I consider this to be the first episode of the week, even though we normally have a monthly series that's running that has an episode that comes out in the morning. But still, this is the one that kind of starts the week off. And the episode is called This Week. It's an episode in which I talk about what is going to be coming up on the channel for the week. Talk about the regular programs. Then we have a discussion about the series that we're running for the month. And this month is January. And I have a little bit of a discussion about a new episode that I'm going to be airing next week. Actually, I think it's a week after, but yeah, the next full week, but it'll be the last day of the last week. And then anything that may have required some discussion that happened in the past, and we will be getting to that. Wanted to introduce Shadow here with this tie on to the show. He's joining the Frog, so the Frog doesn't have to be alone up there on the back podium. The other guys are all over on the other desk. But anyways, Shadow's visiting for this week. Maybe we'll have another visitor next week. But anyways, welcome to the show, Shadow, and here we go. So normally what I do for this week is, like I said, and so we'll go back and talk about some stuff in the past. So was a few I think there was a few episodes that came out late. Primarily, it's just time constraint between work and when the video has to come out. That's usually what it is. There was one video that we switched last night's Saturday, which is normally What's New. There just wasn't much out on What's New. I didn't want to start out using a live album for the What's New episode, so I decided to do something completely different. So I did, instead of doing What's New, I did a live experience album in which I chose an album that I'd wanted to do for a while. I just keep putting it off because I can't find a slot to fit that one-off show in. And I chose to do Eloy's Live from 1978 when they were on their tour. And so that's what I did for last night. So that's really the only kind of change. Now, this week we have a full course of stuff to go over. So we're going to start off. So this episode, of course, is the first episode, which will come out hopefully around noon. But since I'm on the MSI, it could be a little bit longer. So the next episode out will be Commonalities Compared. This is a show that we do every Sunday in which Ben, my subscriber friend, picks two rock commonalities, something that's in common with each other. So normally he'll pick, like, could be two bands, could be two groups, could be two bass players, could be two vocalists, could be a lot of things. But today's one will be two, I guess they would be called vocalists for the same band, but that's primarily where they're going to be compared. And they came both, coincidentally, are on this album. This is actually my favorite album of them singing, both of them. My favorite songs by both artists are on this album. And this is actually my favorite album of all time. So we're going to be doing, of course, Dennis D. Young and Tommy Shaw. A kind of a commonalities comparison to both artists, and that will be tonight's Commonalities Compared, which will come out at 8 o'clock. The next show up is Monday night, and this is Monday night's look back at a classic rock album. So I don't have anything currently on my playlist that I wanted to do a look back yet, and haven't been listening to them long enough to really consider them for it. So I went back and was looking through what I had and hadn't done. And I was surprised that I haven't done this album. I was sure I did. Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare. That will be the album we're doing for the look back at a classic rock album this week. I think the problem was when I first put it on my playlist, It did okay, but I didn't think it was quite good enough to be doing a look back at a classic rock album. But over time, it has upped its edge and now is definitely one that I want to do. I could have swore I'd done this album, but I looked through all my notes, I looked through my playlist, and I didn't see it anywhere. I will check again just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure this will be the album that I've chosen for Look Back at a Classic Rock Album. That will come out Monday at 8. Moving on, we're on to the second episode of the mini-series that we're running, A Near Perfect Start. This is a series that Ben has given to me. We're running it on Tuesday. There'll be 6 episodes in total. I've picked out 6 bands that I think had near perfect studio release from their first 3 albums. So a perfect start, right? So their first 3 albums, I think, are good enough to warrant them a registry on this small mini series. There'll be 6 episodes in total. I actually believe that I got this week and last week's, the first one and this one, backwards. I think they were supposed to be the other way. However, they're both close enough that it's not going to make a difference. They were both going to be on the list anyways. And so number 5 would actually be number 6, and number 6 would actually be number 5. But for the purpose of the series now, the Rush one went first, and this one will go second. I'm not going to give it away until we actually do the episode, and that will be Tuesday at 8. The next episode is Favorites. This is usually the most watched show on the channel. There's always a ton of ideas for this particular show too, so I actually like it quite a bit. Last week we did the ranking of the Beatles, which kind of started out slow but has mushroomed since then, and not a surprise really. I mean, there's so many people looking for Beatles stuff on the internet. That's why it maybe had a slow start, because you got 19 choices or 20 choices and you start and you don't get down to that one until much later. So this week I'm going to do 5 albums that were big disappointments for me. So unlike Not What We Hoped For, this will be not necessarily albums I liked. They may have been albums that I knew about or had been recommended to me, or that I liked other stuff by this band, but for whatever reason, this album was a big disappointment to me, and I've got to pick out 5. I've already picked out about half of them already. I'm sure there'll be others. There's always disappointments where music's concerned, unfortunately. So we're going to be doing, that'll be what we're doing for Wednesday night's favorites. This will be just 5. So as for many of you who watch this, you know that I like to alternate between 25s and 5s and 10s and 5s and rankings and all that stuff. I like to mix it all up so you don't get the same kind of repetitive stuff going on. So that will be Wednesday at 8, of course. So the next show out is Thursday. This is a bi-weekly show, so it alternates with big surprises. So this week it will be Not What We Hoped For. I wasn't sure what album I wanted to pick for this, but when I looked through the list of stuff I had done, and I noticed I hadn't done one by this band, and yet there was an obvious one that needed to be done. So we're going to do Judas Priest, British Steel. This is an album that I quite like. I'm not going to argue. There are lots of stuff on here I like. But I kind of, when I got it, because it was one of their more well-known albums, I kind of expected it to be like battling it out with Screaming for Vengeance for my favorite album, and it's not. So we're going to be doing that album this week, Judas Priest, British Steel, on Not What We Hoped For, which will come out Thursday at 8. Okay, Friday, of course, we're into the Prog verse. This will be a live stream. Comes out every Friday around 8 o'clock. I haven't fully picked the topic yet. I'm still thinking it over. I'm mulling over a couple of ideas. So once I have those ideas, I will put the set up the live stream like I normally do, and the information will be there for you to read if you are interested in joining me for that this Friday at 8 o'clock. Saturday, probably around 4 o'clock, we will do an episode of The Playlist. This is a show that I do every month, once a month, usually mid-month. This month, there's kind of a third, fourth week in there, kind of, sort of. So there's like 5 Saturdays, I believe. So I picked the middle one, and we're going to be doing playlists. This is a show in which I talk about what's in my playlist, what's come on my playlist, what's gone off my playlist, my top 5, usually give you that at the end, and anything I happen to be listening to. So I now have a kind of a more organized schedule for listening to new stuff. So I collect all the new stuff throughout the week, and then on the weekend I try to listen to some of it to get a feel for some of these suggestions from people on the channel and from other sources. The Professor's Picks over on Sea of Tranquility is another source. Bandcamp, some of the Prog archives, other channels that I see stuff that people are presenting as album hauls. Over on Jack's CD Cave, he does an album haul, usually relatively often. I think it looks out about once a week or maybe a little bit more than that. And he always has at least one album on there that I didn't hear before and was of interest to me. So I usually put those also in my listening repertoire. And there's a few other channels that I do listen to as well that I get information from. But those are the main sources there. So that will come out, of course, at 4 p.m. on Saturday. And then at 8 p.m. on Saturday, we'll do an episode of What's New. I've skipped it the last 2 weeks, but I have an album in mind, and that album I'm going to stick with. Prior some kind of catastrophe or something else comes up that I didn't know about, that will be the album we do. We're going to do Tokyo Blade from Time is the Fire. This is a metal album, so we're going to start out with a metal album this year. Okay, so that's it for the regular, and that, of course, will come out Saturday at 8. So we're going to, that's it for the regular channel shows that we do every week. Some of them are once a month, actually. And in the case of playlists, that's the way it is with that. Into the Pro, and Not What We Hope For, which is kind of bi-weekly. So those are the two ones that aren't weekly. Then we have the series we're running for the month of January, which is our favorite bands by the letters. We're up to the letter M. We will do M, N, O, P, Q, R. Well, actually, we did L today, so it would be L through R this week. I don't think some of these will be big surprises to people. Some of them might be a little bit more surprising. Anyways, those are the episodes we'll be running for this series for this week. And then we also have a little bit of a discussion about the new series that I plan on starting the following Saturday, which will be called The Whole Apple. A look at the whole apple, I guess, or talk about the whole apple. So, in which I will pick one of the bands I've been kind of exploring. So these are the ones going back to the new stuff that I like to listen to, and I now have a kind of format for doing that. So listening to some of this new stuff, and one of those bands I'm going to pick out and do a kind of deep dive, not only into their new stuff, but also into maybe their whole discography, talk about the band and what I've learned about them, all that kind of stuff. It's just the show is maybe just as much for me as it is for you, because I am getting into these bands. This is kind of forcing me to listen through their entire discography and kind of get a feel for their music. And I had a band in mind for this, but after having listened to maybe a half dozen to a dozen of their songs, I decided that they're not really a band for me. They're nothing wrong with them or anything. I just don't think they're a band that I would follow. They tend to have a little too much of that grunge sound to their music. I'm not a grunge fan, as many people who watch the channel know. Don't totally dislike it. I guess maybe the best, or the grunge band that I like the most, is probably Soundgarden, and I don't listen to them much either. So the rest of them I have no interest in, so I don't pay much attention to them. So what we will be picking a band out. I will announce it when I do this week, next week, if that makes any sense. So that is what's coming up. And of course, the following month we will be doing a new series in February. These are albums that have a bit of a love theme to them. obviously it's February, so we're going to do 28 albums that have a bit of a love theme. I won't pick more than one album per band, because there's a few bands you could probably pick a lot for. And of course, they're all going to have to be bands that I like. You won't be seeing any Loverboy anytime soon. Sorry for those Loverboy fans out there. They will not be in this February's series that we're going to run for February. So that's pretty much it. I don't think there's much else I can tell you for this month, for this week's episode. So I hope to see most of you throughout the week for the various episodes, whatever you like. If you want to be notified of those episodes, you can hit the notification bell above my head. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy this. This is something that I like quite a bit, and the more help I get, the better it'll be, because then I'll get more stuff that we can talk about, which is all that really matters. And if you have any comments on the channel or anything that I've said, you can put that in the comment section below, and we will see you throughout the week. So please have yourself a good day and a good evening, and goodbye.